Should you track time at your company? If you run any services business, especially an agency like I did, you might hate the idea. Time tracking is frustrating, it's painful, and for most services business owners, it's a major source of unhappiness. So why should you do it? I'll confess, I hate tracking time. Before running an agency, I was an attorney. It was nothing worse than spending your day watching the clock and writing down everything that I did, and it was so much so that I converted my law firm business model over to never billing time. Many years later, when I actually started an agency, I didn't track time either. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I was wrong, how I learned to love tracking time, and why time tracking is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to make you a lot more money. And number two, it's going to make your profitability numbers more believable when you get acquired. So if either of those things sound good to you, making more money or being more believable when you're acquired so you can sell for a bigger number, you're going to want to watch this video. Before we start though, I want to be clear. When I'm talking about tracking time, I am not talking about billing clients by the hour. I'm going to save the long rant on that one. I've done other videos. If you've watched any of them, you know that I am not a fan of billing by the hour. But I am a fan, as you're going to learn today, about tracking time in the right way, in a way that's actually going to benefit your business and not be painful for you or for your team. So we're going to do three things in this video. First, we're going to look at why time tracking is important. Second, we're going to go over some of the fears that business owners have for implementing time tracking. And third, we're going to go over how you can actually do it, the process by which you're going to implement your time tracking so you can be most effective. So first, the why. Why should you be time tracking? Let's just imagine for a second that you've given every single member of your team, full-time, part-time, everybody, at every level in the organization, a company credit card. And you've told them that they can buy whatever they need for work. And that's it. You haven't given them any other guidance. Just guys, go out, whatever you need for work, go ahead and just be reasonable and, here's the company credit card. And every single one of them have it. You're not told how much this costs. They can bill anything. You're not told what it costs. There's no approval. There's no real judgment on what's appropriate or not appropriate, except at the highest level, here's what we need to do, so just go buy some stuff. And what's more, you never look at the credit card bills. Well, if you're not doing time tracking, that is exactly what you've done. You've given everybody in your business a blank check to go out and spend a bunch of money without you really knowing what they're spending it on, because your team is getting paid for their time. And without you knowing how they're spending it, you don't know if they're making good decisions. You don't know the things that they're spending time on. Are they actually a good value for your business? Are they actually a good value for your company? That is the key thing. Are you actually getting any information about how they're spending the thing that you're paying for? You're paying for their time. So you don't know if they're making good decisions. You can't help them make decisions. You don't know what you're paying for. So you could be paying actually for massive inefficiency. In a way, you could have team members who could be doing things in much more efficient ways. You just don't know it. You could help them get better and get better results for clients. You also could be underpaying some of your superstars. And the last thing we want to do if we've got a superstar on our team is not know that they're a superstar, not recognize that, because you could have somebody who is really, really efficient and really doing a great job, and you have no way of knowing it. I know what you might be thinking. Well, I have a good sense. I have a good sense of who's good and who's not. And honestly, I thought I did too. But I can tell you now, having looked at the time for dozens and dozens of businesses, you're wrong. You have no idea. Because I was wrong. I had no idea. And I look at these businesses and I ask the agency owner or the consulting business owner or whoever it is who's billing time, who do you think is a superstar? Who do you think is really efficient? And they'll give me a guess, and they will be off by 20% or more. So it's hurting you, it's hurting the business, and it's hurting the team. So now if that haven't convinced you with all of the pain and the downside, let's look at the upside. So I'll convince you on the upside now. So time tracking gave me huge insights into a few things. Number one was profitability. So just imagine in your business, you're looking at a dashboard and being able to see that how you could make 10% more profits just from the resources you already have today, from the clients you already have today, just by reallocating things in a better way. That sounds like a dream outcome. Well, that's what you can do if you understand your profitability, because you're actually billing time to various client accounts. Second, you could understand resource allocation. That really helped me. So think about not feeling understaffed all the time, because you know how to cover uncover all of your client engagements. You know who actually has more time instead of the squeaky wheel employee always saying, oh, I couldn't possibly take on anything more. You'll know, are they just being less efficient, or do they actually have time? You'll also learn, like I did, about team effectiveness, being able to reward the superstars and keep them for longer. It's a really important thing. When you have A player employees, team members, you want to keep them on the team as long as possible and attract more of them. And this is going to let you reward them appropriately. I'm going to get into the how in a little bit, but it's such an important thing for building an organization that can scale and you're going to be happy with. And the fourth thing that I certainly learned about was with respect to hiring. So imagine knowing the exact right time to hire, knowing that you're going to have the budget to support an A player that you hire, because you know exactly what the workload really is. You know what it really takes to deliver to clients. So when I finally got my head around all this time tracking, that's what I got out of it. But wait, I'm afraid there is one other thing, and you might be afraid, like I was, about making your staff unhappy. And not only that, and actually, I didn't want to track my time. I hated it so much when I was a lawyer that I just never wanted to track my own time. But I was also really afraid that the staff would just hate this. So let's talk about the fear of forcing this onto the organization, because I think that's a really important thing to address, because you might just be afraid that I just don't want to do it. What's my life going to look like? Are they going to hate me? Are they all going to leave? Are they just going to lie on the timesheets? Like, what are they really going to do? But before your mind goes there, I want you to remember, just set the context, what you're trying to create. You're trying to create a great business that attracts superstar employees that can do fantastic work for your clients, that your clients are happy to pay for a long period of time. That's what you're trying to build. So guess what? Superstars like accountability. Now, I've done other videos on this, but time tracking, it might be painful in your mind, and it might piss off some people. It might piss off lazy Larry, who's busy spending his whole day billing on eBay, or rather, just on eBay trying to buy stuff. I've actually had an employee once, which I was fortunately at this time tracking time, and I was wondering, where is all her time going? She doesn't even have a complete time card. And I would look at it, it was just, chronically, she just wouldn't be able to fill up her day. So I did actually help her find another position, and I looked at her computer, and it was literally all eBay. All she was doing was bidding on things on eBay for hours and hours a day. So you could have this kind of person, Larry Lazy, let's call him, always on eBay or doing something else with your time that you're paying them to do great work for clients. So remember, contextually, time tracking is a way to help the team get better at what they do. It's a way for them to be more effective for clients. And it's a way of giving transparency so that the whole team knows that everyone is pulling their weight. And those are the things that superstars love. Now, as a side note, I've got other videos on hiring and rewarding superstars, which go much more into detail about how to create that culture for superstars. But just understand that time and tracking time will actually help the superstars do even better. Well, here's the thing. I could give you a pass here. Like, as the owner, you don't have to track time. And actually, I didn't start out tracking time myself, so you might breathe a sigh of relief right now. I will recommend that you do. And as we get into the how section of this, in a moment, I'm going to tell you why you might want to build time and why I eventually turned around and I started doing this in the agency, because I could actually track certain things that were pretty important to growth. But you can breathe that sigh of release right now. You don't have to do that from the get-go. You don't have to build time. I will just encourage you to think about time is for people who are doing client work, and then you can optionally build time if you want to get more intelligence about how to grow the business even faster. So before we wrap up, here's how to run your billing process. We've gone over why you want to do it. We've gone over some of the fears that people have about that. Now we're going to go over the how. And the software tool, by the way, to do this is not important. I don't have a favorite software tool. People have asked me that before. There are several of them out there on the market. Some are built into your billing systems or your invoicing system. Some of them are standalone. It doesn't matter. What is important is how you collect and use the information. It is not the tool. So I'm going to give you the formula in 4 easy steps, and here they are. How are you going to implement billing? So first of all, before every week, the staff should plan their allocated work time, okay? So before the week even starts, you want to have everyone sit down and say, what am I going to be doing in the upcoming week, and allocate time to each account. So this is the planning phase, right? So it's not just, most people think, oh, I'm doing time and I'm going to keep timesheets, and then every day or every week, they're going to fill them in and that's it. That's going to get you only a tiny fraction of the value. And if that's how you thought about billing time, that's why you haven't gotten all these benefits out of it. It's a planning tool as well as a recording tool. So at the beginning of the week, the staff members are going to look at, what do I anticipate doing in the coming week, and how am I going to budget my time? So maybe you've got project management managers and they're helping the staff set this up. But you want to look at that and look at what kind of profitability am I trying to get out of each client, out of each service line, and have them budget that for the upcoming week. So that's number one. So number one is you're planning in advance. Number two is at the close of the week, as people have billed, and they should bill on an ongoing basis. Never have people do it at the end of the week and like fill it in later. It needs to be a daily practice because they will get it wrong. So at the close of the week, you have to compare the actuals to the estimates. In other words, if they thought they would take 5 hours on client Jones, but they're actually taking 10 hours, well, we're way off here, right? And this is not to some kind of gotcha because things always will change. It's never going to be exactly on point to the estimate. The point is your team learning how long it takes to do things? You are going to get better at being able to estimate and therefore bid if you do this. And you're also going to get a sense of where are we misestimating things due to our internal processes where they could be better, due to external forces that could be coming around. You are going to get better and smarter by comparing that estimated at the beginning of the week to the actual at the end of the week. Now, this process was really huge for me. I got good at time tracking, good at profitability, because now I could estimate, well, here's actually how much I'm spending. Each of these staff members are spending this amount of time that costs me this much, and my retainer is this much. So I know what my profitability can be. And next time I've got engagement like that, I can forecast it. So, I know this sounds like, oh, it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of headache, but just think about it. If you could get really good at this, I've seen a lot of companies be able to add 10 or 20% in profits without any additional clients by just getting good at this. And it's a little bit of pain up front getting used to this process, but it is going to pay off big time. So that's the second thing. So the first was the beginning of the week, the second was the end of the week. And then the third is to add as a client into your billing system the agency itself. So you've got your business and that should be a client. And what that does is whenever someone is billing to improve the company processes, like build a standard operating procedure or doing administrative things, they have a place to bill to. Now, the reason why you want to do that is because that's kind of the pop-off valve. That's going to make sure they're not inflating the client billable times because they're not being paid directly, hopefully, for just the client hours and not for your hours working on your business. They're being just paid whatever they're being paid. But this is the way for you to know if they don't have enough client work, or you can mix more work for the company versus work for the client. So that's your pop-off valve to make sure that they're not actually just trying to fill up their 40 hours and shoving it all into clients. You've got this other category of things which you prioritize and say, let's make the company better. Let's build processes. Let's do research into the industry. Let's do all of these things that, these evergreen projects that you always want to do. They can bill it to the company itself, and there's a place for that. And you can see how much is getting done and how much capacity you have to do those kind of projects if there isn't client work. So that's number 3. And number 4, this is for you, the business owner. I suggest you set up an account in your billing system that will pretty much just be billed to by you, and to call it client number 1. And client number 1 is you. You are client number 1. You are the most important client of the business because the business exists to serve you. And if you do this and you spend time billing to that account when you are doing things that move the business forward, you are not dealing with client work, you are not dealing with administrative work, things that actually move the business forward. If you bill that time, you will start to get a sense of how much time are you spending actually making the business better. So before you move on, before you jump on to the next thing, I wanted to leave you with one last very important observation, and that is, having myself personally worked with hundreds and hundreds of businesses, services businesses, I will tell you with certainty that the companies who adopt this kind of billing practice, this discipline of doing it, are the ones that scale the best, scale the fastest, and have the best opportunities to sell if they want to sell. So this is not just a nice to have. This may be the thing that is preventing you from getting to the next level.